This is the Cliff Yates Show. Personal growth, motivation, inspiration, and philosophies for a great life.
Hey, everybody, this is Cliff Yates. You're in the right place, the Cliff Yates Show, and I'm excited. We got a great guest on today, and he's an author, Ultimate Health, and he's traveled the world. He's full of energy, full of success, and he's got a lot that we're going to share together, and I know I'm going to learn some stuff, and hopefully you will too. And my guest today is Craig Brockie. Craig, thanks so much for coming on the show. Hang on, I muted you and I forgot to unmute you. All right, brother, you're on. There you go.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Cliff. It's great to be here.
Yeah, the ultimate health, man.
I see you're a patriot based on the flag, so I love it.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking with a young man about a health coaching program that we had both gone through, and it was funny. He's probably in his 20s, and he said, "Wow, I see you have a lot of flags there. People must get triggered by that." And I go, "If they get triggered by that, they can go somewhere else, right?"
No kidding, right?
Hey, so man, I'm into health like you are, and I just feel the energy. But you always weren't into health, right? Did you have a health scare? What prompted you to get into it?
I used to be a disaster. For years, I'd wake up in bed, my chest would feel tight, I'd feel sick to my stomach.
Wow.
I'd have this overwhelming feeling of anxiety. I just want to fall back asleep and escape from how awful I was feeling, but I couldn't as my mind was already racing. So I'd finally get up out of bed, I'd go to the bathroom, I'd look into the mirror, and I just wonder what happened to me. I didn't recognize myself. I was disgusted with how I looked. My gut was hanging out, my shoulders and arms were weak, and my face was bloated and sad. And I could barely look at myself in the eyes. I was dominated by feelings of guilt, shame, regret for the bad choices I'd made and was continuing to make. And I started to realize that something had to change. And I knew I should be exercising, but I was lazy. I knew I should be eating healthy food, but I was binging on junk food instead. And when I looked for solutions, I found that most of them were geared towards athletes, bodybuilders, or obese individuals. And there wasn't really a solution for middle-aged men and women like, you, me, and your audience. And then something cool happened and it worked. And here I am, age 50. I feel better than I did 30 years ago. I went from having debilitating anxiety to not wanting to get out of bed to waking up full of energy and ready to get to work. From hating how I looked to being happy with the progress I've been making. And I went from feeling ashamed and, guilty to being proud of who I am and wanting to help as many other people feel the same way. And so now I know what a healthy diet is for me. I still fall off the wagon every now and then, but, I get back on the wagon and life is good. And I hit the gym 2 or 3 times a week and have fun sports I like to play. And maybe people are just being polite, but most people think I look at least 10 years younger than my 50-year-old age, and I definitely feel that way. And so I just want as many other people who listen to this to feel and look 10 years younger, because that's totally doable these days.
I'm with you, Craig. I mean, it's just, I'm 66, and I actually do feel better than I did when I was 40 years old. I mean, at first, and this has been for the past probably 10 years now, and at first I was like, am I dying? Because I feel really good. And I had eliminated kind of basically, why do all these Mediterranean, why did all these diets, why do they all work? Because anytime you get away from the standard American diet, right, you're going to your body will heal and you'll start to get more energetic and you'll feel better, right?
Mm-hmm, for sure.
What prompted you, and what kind of lifestyle did you get onto as far as nutrition, and what were some of the things that you adopted?
Well, what I first adopted was a naturopathy perspective, because when I grew up, like my parents were in the generation where penicillin was the miracle drug, and the MDs were seen as authorities, and they still are to some degree today. But the harmful truth and the actual truth is that medical malpractice today is the third leading cause of death in the United States, heart disease and cancer being above them. And in my opinion, if the medical institution knew how to treat heart disease and prevent heart disease and cancer and treat it effectively, that those wouldn't be the problems that they are today either. So naturopathy is basically using natural medicine. It's herbs, it's nutrition, And one of the things I learned early on was that I had a leaky gut. My body was too acidic,
Yes.
and I had candida yeast overgrowth. So
Yeah.
those are the things that I found out. And what a lot of people don't realize is that your health is so dependent on your gut. So if a person listening right now has indigestion or bloating or gas or heartburn, acid reflux, any of those things, constipation, diarrhea, any of these kind of recurring symptoms, those are actually early warning signals for something much, much worse. Because when your
Yes.
digestion and when your gut health falls apart, then you're just an accident waiting to happen. So it's super important to get your gut back on track early on and quickly, and then everything else can fall into place. Whether it's chronic pain, chronic anxiety. A lot of people don't realize this, but even the American Psychological Association recognizes and states on their website that 95% of the body's serotonin, and serotonin is the feel-good neurotransmitter, is actually produced and stored in the gut. So if your gut's not functioning properly, that can have such a profound effect on how you're feeling emotionally and your ability to concentrate and all these things. So I really think that people should focus on their gut. And a great book came out last year called Super Gut. It's
Yes.
by New
Yeah.
York Times #1 best-selling author Dr. William Davis. It's called
Yep.
Super Gut. I think everybody should read it.
Yes.
And that inspired me to create the #1 best-selling probiotic yogurt maker on the market, because Dr. Davis teaches people how to make their own probiotic yogurt and to use very specific species of probiotics for very specific problems, and each one can address different things, and how to culture them to make them orders of magnitude stronger than the capsules that you buy in the grocery store or online or wherever you buy your probiotics. And it's almost miraculous, some of the results people are getting with this product.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I just finished a health coaching program by Mark Sisson, right? The Primal Health Coach Institute, and they have a whole separate. You can actually niche down and become an expert in They call it the microbiome, right? Of really your gut and keeping that healthy. Yeah, they even talk about probiotics, and then they talk about feeding the stuff that feeds your gut bugs. So there's prebiotics, and so all these great things, and they're so, like you said, man, I got into it a little bit, and just reading some of the things that have happened since we grew up as a kid. Right now, they switched to like a dwarf wheat, and that's why you're getting all these leaky guts. They've switched to a separate. Now you remember when you were a kid. If you had a loaf of bread in 3 days, it went bad, right? Today you can leave it on the shelf for 6 months; it's still good. That's a red flag.
I know glyphosate, which is Roundup, which is a pesticide,
Yeah,
herbicide. It's not only used to while the crops are growing, but they use it after in
right.
post production to help dry it out faster. So it's like they're purposely trying to kill us, and I think that they're just trying to kill us slowly. So if you recognize that and you take steps to reverse it, the good news is that your body has a great ability to heal itself. So if you get the toxins out of it and you give it the nutrients that it needs, and you get rid of the parasites, viruses, bacteria that are not supposed to be there, or at least knock down their populations, then you can have great improvements. And it doesn't really matter what a person's problem is, it can improve. And that's what my book's all about. I'm super excited to share this with people, and it's super easy to read. Yeah, I mean, you could read it in a day easily
Oh, great.
and put things into practice. It's so simple. And that's the other thing about the medical system, is they like to use Latin terminology and make things as confusing as possible for people. It doesn't have to be that way. The body's complex, but it works on some very simple rules and operating bases. And if you give it what it needs and get rid of the things it doesn't need, I think most people will be pleasantly surprised with the results.
Oh, please, everybody, get this book, Ultimate Health. I like it already. I haven't got it yet, so I'm going to get it. All the links are going to be in the description on the YouTube channel and also on the podcast platforms. But I mean, and you're preaching to the choir with me, but I just want to spread this message, because sometimes it just seems, there's no money in healthy eating. I mean, a lot of things like you said, could be reversed or cured with just a change in what you're eating and what you're cutting out. But of course, there's no profit in that. I mean, doctors want to help, but their only tools are, prescribing and procedures, right? So, man, you can do so much with not eating or eating the right things. Man, I'm right with you.
I mean, some people have miraculous results just from intermittent fasting, and if they get something really serious and they do like multi-day fasting, it's just amazing how quickly things can reverse. You're giving your body an opportunity to heal itself. You're not using up resources to digest. Your gut is healing really quickly. I mean, fasting isn't for everybody, but I know a lot of people that get down to one meal a day and they feel great and they've got lots of energy and they do it easily. So it definitely can be done. There's some people who prefer a carnivore diet and they can do that for a while and they have almost miraculous results on that. I mean, obviously like a Mediterranean diet, or a lot of people have success with keto. Carbs probably aren't that bad, but when they're so laced with chemicals and high fructose corn syrup and all kinds of crap.
That's disguised in so many foods, right, Craig? It's everywhere. You have to read that label, man.
Right. And obviously the best advice is to stick to the outer aisles.
Outer aisles, right? Yep, the 70 or 30% on the outside, yeah.
Yeah, the outside. Exactly. So, I mean, and then, a lot of people struggle with weights, and testosterone is a big problem for men these days. Like a lot of people have low testosterone. I did up until last year. I didn't even know I had low testosterone.
Wow.
And it's just amazing. People have depression and anxiety issues. Well, if their testosterone was in a healthy level, they probably wouldn't feel they'd feel better for sure. And then heal your gut on top of that. I mean, so many good solutions out there.
I couldn't agree more. I initially went vegan. My dad died of heart attack, but so I looked into it. I started watching Forks Over Knives, those two heart surgeons, and how first I was amazed that heart disease, the number one killer, can actually be not only stopped but reversed with diet. And I went, what? Because I didn't want to be in that ICU. I didn't want those tubes sticking out of me. I didn't want a bunch of stents in my heart. So, man, I got into it. And so when I went vegan, all my numbers went great, except for glucose and my H1C, right? So your sugar levels, not realizing that because I was eating pasta constantly. And, I come to learn now through this latest coaching program that, hey, all carbohydrates get converted to glucose, and glucose is going to stimulate insulin to bring that down to a normal level. Your body does it naturally. And, man, if we can manage our insulin levels, that kind of has a curative effect to almost all these disease-related, diet-related diseases, right?
Exactly. And Dr. Davis, who wrote Supergut,
Yeah.
He's actually a cardiologist.
Yeah.
And that's how he got into it in the first place, is he saw so many people having bad heart conditions, and he was looking, okay, well, what's causing this? What's causing this? Well, wait a minute. People either have type 2 diabetes, or they're pre-diabetic, or have insulin resistance.
Yep.
And he was finding that in case after case after case. And he was like, wow, if we eliminate wheat, like in fact, his best-selling book series initially was called Wheat Belly.
Yeah.
And how you need to avoid wheat these days. And again, you know, maybe wheat that's grown in a healthy environment isn't that bad for you, but the way it's grown today and the way it's been modified is toxic to people. And
dude, I cut out sandwiches altogether. I used to have probably 20 sandwiches a week, peanut butter. I cut no more bread, man. I mean, if I'm out, you know, if they have French bread or something, I'll have a piece, but I stay away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel so good, man. It's like I don't have that bloating anymore. My stomach's gone down to nothing. Yeah.
Good for you, man. I'm really happy to hear that. Did you ever have any like more serious health problems?
No, just going towards my whole family, you know, is pretty much diabetic, right? They're all trading insulins and they think that's like the rite of passage, I guess. But I says, I don't want to go there.
Right.
And so, man, God, it's just amazing to find out that you can actually, so I ended up switching to healthy fats and proteins. So I'm not non-carbohydrate, but now that I believe it or not, I believe it. You can actually become fat adapted. So your body burns fat and ketones, and it loves to burn that more than carbohydrates. But once you get into that fat burning zone, man, when you do have carbohydrates, it just, man, it burns it right up, and you don't have that insulin, you know, that glucose teeter-totter crash, right?
Right. Good for you. That's
Yeah.
great.
So, I
So
don't, the
what do you think?
fasting, people don't realize. So when you go without food, you go into autophagy, right? Your cells go away. We're not getting nothing. Now's a good time to clean out. And they start cleaning the dead shit out of your cells. And man, your body starts to heal itself, right?
Right. Dana White, the UFC
Yeah.
president
I love
for
data.
MMA fighting. Yeah, I love him too. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting him
Oh, I
personally,
would
but I have
love
seen
to.
him speak live, and I've seen several videos. But he works with a guy named Gary Brecka,
I know Gary. Yeah. Of
and
course I watch him. Yeah. Yeah.
Gary's a genius.
Yeah.
So I definitely support what 10x Health is doing. I've actually
Yeah.
worked with 10x Health. I think they're great as well.
Oh,
They've
good.
got like a metabolic test, like a
Yeah.
DNA test, and then also their blood work is what made me realize I had low testosterone
Yeah.
and some other issues, even though I was feeling pretty good otherwise.
I was surprised to learn about cholesterol. Did you learn about cholesterol?
Well, it's definitely a precursor to testosterone and other hormones, so it's very important. And I think we've been deceived into being told that we need to avoid animal fats and saturated fats because of
Correct.
the cholesterol. That's yeah.
You know what? I was surprised. Did you know there's no good cholesterol, bad cholesterol? There's only one cholesterol.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's just they mark. The doctors talk about it that way. There's only one cholesterol, and our body makes it. The difference is it rides on a different lipo. So there's HDL, that's high dense lipoprotein that it rides on, or an LDL, low dense lipoprotein, and that's your HDL, LDL. So it's not really two different types of cholesterol. It's one type riding on a different type of lipoprotein. And the problem
Interesting.
and it's not really all LDLs. It's small particle LDLs are the ones that get caught in your arteries. And when they oxidate, they're the ones that cause damage to the arterial wall. So really, if they wanted to do a proper test, they would test for the size of the LDL particles, because the large fluffy particles of the LDL don't do any damage. But of course, people just talk about good, bad cholesterol. So my cholesterol, eating these healthy fats, eggs, I went back to eggs, and I went back to avocados and coconut oil and whatnot. And so my cholesterol went up a little bit, but my triglycerides 65. So that ratio is very important.
Mm-hmm. And another thing that I learned in the last year that I think, the last couple of years that I think is super important. I've been studying this stuff for 30 years, traveling all over the place, spent over
Yeah.
$1 million of my own money researching things. And one thing I learned about is protein. And we all know that protein is important. But what I didn't understand is that when your gut is compromised and your stomach's not working at optimal, and you don't break down the proteins effectively, and you don't actually absorb the proteins properly. Um,
That's
we have
correct.
small intestines. We have the small intestine. A lot of people think of it as a tube, and it is
Yes.
a
Yeah.
tube. But rather than looking like this, it actually looks like this inside, and it has these fingers coming down, and these fingers are called villi.
Yeah.
And what their purpose is to increase the surface area that you can absorb nutrients on.
Right.
So first of all, if your stomach's not acidic enough and you don't have enough enzymes, then first of all you don't break down the proteins enough so that your body could absorb them. And then when they pass into your small intestines, if they're coated with mucus or candida yeast, which is very common, or the wrong type of bacteria, which again is very, then these villi are not doing their job to absorb all the
Right.
nutrients. Sometimes you can actually have small holes in here in
Yeah.
the intestinal lining. That's called leaky gut. That's so prevalent today. In
Yes.
fact, anybody who's listening right now who's got chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia, I can almost guarantee they've got a leaky gut.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if they just address that one problem, their symptoms are going to improve drastically. But the bottom line is protein is a big challenge these days because people's digestion is challenged, and also they're not consuming enough. But even if they were consuming enough, they're not absorbing what they're eating. So there's a great product out there called essential amino acids, and there's 20 amino acids, and amino acids are just the building blocks for proteins. And what people don't realize is proteins aren't just muscles, but they're collagen for your skin and your joints. Their neurotransmitters are proteins, so that's what's your brain's operating on. Hormones are also proteins, and enzymes are also proteins. So all as my, your muscles and your bones, all these things are proteins. So protein is extremely important. And if you're not getting enough, or you're not consuming enough, or both, then getting other amino acids is important. And there's actually there's 20 amino acids, and your body can actually produce 11 of those.
Right.
But there's nine essential there are 9 amino acids that your body cannot
Yeah.
produce. And those are called essential amino acids.
Correct. Yeah.
So
You need those
yeah, so
present to assimilate that protein. Correct. Yeah.
right. So another product that my company, Ultimate Health, what we've developed is a essential amino acid product, so that people, no matter what the condition is of their gut, they can get the protein building blocks that they need to repair and recover, so that their bodies can heal quickly. And
Yeah.
that's an important product I think everybody should at least take a look at.
Yeah. I learned that when I was around bodybuilders and learning what they were doing. You have to, I don't know if it was 12, or there's certain essential amino acids, like you have to be present to assimilate. And, you just can't, if you need 100 grams of protein, you can't do that in one sitting. You can only assimilate so many grams. It's arguable what that is, but definitely in one sitting, you're not going to get everything you need for the day. But you definitely have to
Right.
have those amino acids. Huh?
Right.
Yeah.
And even the balance and the ratio of those essential amino acids is important.
Huh.
For instance, whey protein is very popular, whey protein powder,
Yeah.
but it's actually a waste product from the milk industry.
Yeah.
So they just didn't know what to do with it. They're like, oh, well, it's high in protein. Well, let's make it into a protein powder.
Yeah.
Well, it is a high protein powder, but what you were saying earlier about carbohydrates converting to glucose,
Yeah.
what most people don't realize is that in fact, all proteins also convert to glucose.
Yep.
And it comes down to how efficiently your body absorbs the protein building blocks.
Yes.
And what the excess, if it's not balanced properly, the
Yeah.
excess protein actually turns into glucose also. In fact, my doctor had a case where he had one patient who was he was on a strict ketogenic diet, but he was not getting into ketosis.
Correct.
And the doc said, well, what are you eating? And he explained to him the amount of protein. He was like, okay, well, I want you to cut down the protein and just consume fat,
Yep.
just to see at what level his body could actually tolerate and get into a ketosis state,
Yeah.
a ketogenic state. And then this doctor is also into essential amino acids. So he started using supplemental essential amino acids.
Good.
And that allowed this guy to actually maintain ketosis, which is a great state, especially if you're trying to heal or lose fat.
Yeah, I was surprised, and I didn't test myself. I'm sure I'm into ketosis, though, because I was probably on that. I gradually, I believe, became fat adapted. I did what Mark Sisson did, which isn't a traditional fast, but I would not eat from 8 p.m. until noon or 1 the next day. But what I was doing was I had my coffee in the morning with a little bit of heavy cream, which is all fat. And so that's not spiking your insulin. And man, I found myself going to the gym at 10:30, 11. I'm into 15, 16 hours without eating. And I have the energy I do right now. And I'm thinking, man, this is crazy. And then after my workout, I wasn't devastated and need to have something right away, man. So I'm pretty sure I was fat adapted at that point and burning into a fat burning mode, man. It's a great feeling.
For sure. And I find that mental clarity too and energy is, you don't get the highs and the lows in terms of your energy swings that you do on carbohydrates. And then also just your ability to focus and actually produce and be productive and be in the zone, if you will.
Yeah.
That to me is very strong when you're in a ketogenic state. It's just, carbs are delicious and carbs are really heavily marketed.
Yeah.
And they're everywhere. I was just up visiting my mother and dad in Canada. My mom just had back surgery last week.
Yeah.
So I wanted to check in on her. She's doing great, fortunately. But she's also a very good baker and she makes cookies and all kinds of yummy stuff, right? So even me, who eats healthy 90% of the time, I was having, probably 4 dessert type cookie things per day, which is just totally uncharacteristic for me, but it's there and is in my face. I don't have a strong self control, so I make sure I just don't buy that
Yeah,
stuff and keep it
that's
in my
right. Yeah,
house. Like, I'll
me
keep
too.
only.
Yeah.
So, and that's another thing I suggest to people in the book is just, pick up a copy of Ultimate Health. I make it super simple for people, and then when you do fall off the wagon, I'm here to get you back on the wagon. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not a disaster. It's not a train wreck. Just pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward, and you're going to get better.
Yeah, you gotta. It's a lifestyle that, even Mark Sisson says, "Hey, I know I'm going to a wedding this weekend. I'm going to have a piece of pie. I'm going to have a piece of cake, and then Monday I'm back on it." So you're never derailed, but it's intentional. Hey, I'm going to enjoy a piece of cake. But then you don't say, "Oh, I fell off, so I might as well have the whole thing right now," because you can't have that mentality or that philosophy. It's just like, no, I'm going to have a piece of cake. I'm at a wedding, but I have such little sugar. Your body can. It's like if you had one drink, you don't feel any ill effects as your body can process it. You're not having a gallon of it. And it's the same with sweets,
Right. Another issue that's I've struggled with personally is fat, like body fat and body composition, and getting like I've probably gone up and down 50 pounds in my adult life, in these swings. I would do crash diets and then regain it. And I feel like I finally cracked the code on how to actually lose weight and keep it off. And I've successfully been doing that. And I teach that in the book also.
Yeah.
And
Good.
whether it's as simple as just avoiding carbs, exercising a little bit more, that might be enough for people. Intermittent fasting might be enough for people. But if it's not, then they probably are insulin resistant or pre-diabetic. And then there's some products. One is called berberine. My company has that as well. But there's also a prescription drug called metformin, which has a very strong safety profile. That sometimes is enough to help people lose weight and get in control of their blood sugar. But if that's still not, and they're doing all the right things, these new GLP agonists, as much as they're called GLP-1 agonists, Ozempic, Wegovy, semaglutide, and there's others, but they're very controversial. But I think they're so controversial because people abuse them and misuse them.
Yeah.
And if used responsibly, they can actually be miraculous and give people who have been stuck and not been able to have weight loss with any other way actually get back into the shape that they want to be. And actually, there is a way to get off of them and still live a healthy life and not regain the weight. It's just people need to know how to do that. And I break that down very simply for people in the book.
I break it down and I say, get your ass out on the dock with me and jump rope and work out. You don't need no damn medication. Of course, I don't take any medication, but
that's
great. And I won't.
Body composition, you're obviously doing well.
Doing well. I have trouble keeping weight on, so I try to, it's a balance of trying to keep muscle on and then not go too much and get any belly fat on. So but no problem. People don't realize, right? When you keep loading that body up with food, overeating really, and then your cells are so full, and the hormone, the master hormone insulin, that has the key to open up that cell so things can be absorbed. And once the cell, I don't want it anymore, so it becomes insulin resistant and it will not open the door anymore, and stuff gets converted to the liver and turned into fat. And so we need to get those cells healthy again so that they'll allow insulin to open the door so that we can absorb these nutrients, man.
Absolutely. And that's why I recommend people heal their gut first.
Yes.
Get into the probiotics, get the protein they need, get some exercise, knock out the parasites, viruses, bacteria that's not supposed to be in there. And oftentimes they can get the upper hand on their weight loss as well. And then also their other symptoms go away too, whether that's eczema, psoriasis. It doesn't really matter. People need to know that the body is a system. So when your gut is out and the immune system is also based in the gut too. So people who are sickly and prone to getting sick, that's gut. And you fix the gut, and then it doesn't matter like whether someone's got chronic pain or what it is. All these things can improve just by getting the fundamentals in.
Absolutely. This is what I preach every day, Craig. And like you were saying, people, so, gluten is on the plant, right? And it was meant to really I think it was the bison. It was meant to, so when animals ate this wheat, they would get sick to their stomach and they wouldn't want to eat anymore. So the plant was using this to kind of stay alive. But this stuff really affects human gut health. And so when you get that leaky gut, when it damages those brushes, then things get into the bloodstream that shouldn't be getting there, and then the body doesn't recognize them. And of course, like you said, immune system jumps in to destroy these or, fight against things that they may even be nutrients, but they don't recognize them because they're not supposed to be in the bloodstream. They're supposed to be in your gut being broken down, right?
Absolutely. And, when I was in my 20s, I was actually concerned that I had HIV or AIDS. That's how bad
Yeah.
my immune system was. And just by healing my gut, that improved. My
Yeah.
anxiety went away. Like all these things improved almost immediately just by healing my gut. And that's why I wrote a book called Take Control of Your Health in 2008. And at the time, I was retired and just wanted to help people. And it didn't really take off. And I didn't know how to market it. I didn't have any kind of health products or anything to go along with it. And here I am at age 50. Also, like I don't need the money. I sold a business a couple of years ago. I'm doing well, but I do want to help a lot of people. I'm really passionate about this subject. And I
Yes,
think I
me too.
do simplify it for people so that they can actually implement it. And now I do have a health company and I do have the best selling probiotic yogurt maker on Amazon. I've got essential amino acids and I've got all these cool products that people can buy or buy other people's products. I don't really care. Or don't buy any products. If you get your diet really dialed in and you're only eating organic and you're eating the right proteins and you're being really responsible, then you probably don't need a lot of supplements, but they definitely can
Yeah.
help fill some holes
Yes.
if you do have challenged digestion.
Yeah, I agree, man. If
A
people
lot of
would just
people,
start, and not get overwhelmed, you know, s- right now you can at least start, cut out sugary drinks. Just do that for a month. I mean, the difference that'll make is unbelievable, right? Oh my God.
right? I mean, anybody who's listening right now, you can wait to take action, but why keep being overweight, tired, and stressed any longer? Like, what's the benefit to that? You have a small window of opportunity right now to make a change, and be the person you want to be. Whether you're a dad, a mom, a grandmother. I assume that our audience is more middle aged, but I could be wrong. Maybe there's some
Yeah.
young people. I'm glad that my health fell apart when I was 21 years old
Yeah.
because today I'm so healthy
That's right.
because I was forced into learning how to live a healthy lifestyle. And so today I feel fantastic. And all the things I know, and I summarize them in the books. Like peptides, the whole area of
Yes,
peptides is so fascinating.
it is.
Hormones are so fascinating. You get these things dialed in and you're going to be feeling fantastic.
Yeah.
So, you know, if there's parents listening, every year of your child's life is precious. Time's ticking and those children become adults before you know it, so there's no benefit to wasting another year. If you're feeling tired, if you're feeling stressed out, if you're feeling like you're getting sick too often, if you have chronic pain, all these things are not difficult and they're not expensive necessarily to treat either. If you
No.
just do the right things, your body's going to heal itself. And that's what my book's all about. And that's why I'm so passionate about getting on all these different little podcasts and
Yeah.
big podcasts, whatever podcasts I can get on. And we're doing all kinds of social media. If people want to check me out on any social media platform, I'm putting out videos every day teaching people cool stuff that they can do at home that will help them feel better.
Yeah, I love. I was just watching some of the spinal twisting and which I've been doing. I hurt my back, so but I still did a workout today. I did dips and I did some walking, and I learned last year. It's amazing how, because it was a lower back strain. It's amazing how walking creates heat, and man, your back starts to loosen up just by walking. Have you found this in your training?
Yeah, for sure. In fact, I'll give them a plug. There's something called GOTA. Stands for Greatest of All Time Athletics, I believe. GOTA.
Go die.
And if you look them up you can search them on Google and I think on different social media platforms. And there's some rebranded versions of it. But what they do is they've analyzed the structure of professional athletes and babies
Yeah.
and how they move. how fluid their hips are, and how
Yes.
fluid their back is when they're moving. It's not like they're tight and stiff like most people are these days.
Oh, yeah.
And so in my book, I explain, okay, say you have chronic pain. Well, I tell people to take a bottom up approach and a top
Yeah.
down approach, and then also focus on the middle too. So from the bottom, people need to have arches in their feet. And a lot of people, because they've been wearing shoes their whole life, their feet get weak. And what happens is their arches, I'm just pretending my hands are feet right now.
Yeah.
What happens is your arch should be like this. Your arch gets kind of flattened. And when your arch flattens, then your ankles pronate. And
That's
pronate just
right.
means they
Yeah.
kind of twist in. And that puts a lot of strain on your hips and your knees, your lower back.
That's
And
right.
then that can, when your lower back is tightened, that can even get into shoulder pain and back pain. So I tell people the first thing you need to do is look down at your feet and see. And I teach people how to see. I even have a picture in the book showing people what a healthy foot looks like, so they
Yeah.
can see, well, do I have fallen arches? Do I have weak arches? And there's actually a shoe insert that you can wear, and in a matter of weeks, sometimes months, you can actually gradually rebuild your natural
Oh,
arch.
yeah.
I went from having a size 14 foot to down to size 13. I'm 6'4", and I'm telling you, trying to find shoes when you're a size 14 is almost impossible. But 13, most people make that.
Yeah. You
So
can do
for me, not
13.
only is
Yeah.
it great for my feet and my health, but now I can actually buy shoes. But you can actually drop a shoe size
Yeah.
by getting your arches back, and not only that, but fix so many other
Yeah.
things.
I
And then
agree.
from the top down, if your head is not actually positioned properly on your spine, and a lot of people these days, because they're looking down at their cell phone all the time,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
developing something that's called tech neck. They
That's
actually call
right.
it tech
Tech
neck.
neck. Yep. I've heard about it.
Yeah. And so you need posture is so important, and especially what doesn't matter what age you are, but even especially if you're young, you want to focus on having your posture upright. And a simple thing that people can do is when they're using their phone, instead of looking down at it, just hold your phone up higher. When you're working on a computer, put the monitor up higher so that you can actually maintain a good posture.
Yeah.
But there's actually corrective things you can do with
Yeah.
different chiropractic to actually get your head to sit on straight. I'd go over that in the book. And then there's just things with your hips that you can just get I say your hips are kind of like the shock absorbers for your body. If your hips are tight, then anything you're doing, walking, running, all that tightness is going to translate right up your spine into your neck and your shoulders.
Oh,
But when your hips are loose, it's like having shock absorbers in a car. And when you go over those bumps, it gets absorbed, and the shock doesn't go up your body. So these are just simple things
yeah.
that I go over in the book. I teach people how to do it at home in most
Yeah.
cases
You can do
without
it
even
at
having to
home.
hire like a chiropractor and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So last year when I hurt my back so bad, and I had a golf tournament coming up, and so I have a little bar here on the island, and so I started hanging. I was hanging because it felt better, so I would hang for like 30, 40 seconds, and I did that 5 or 6 times during the day, for like a week prior. And I go, wow, I feel a lot better. And then
That's fantastic.
it had been a couple of days since I had hang because I drove 3 hours to my mom's place. And then in the tournament, I'm hugging my cousins, and I go, are you taller? You seem taller. I mean, that must have made that much of a difference. I didn't realize that, but either I was standing more erect or I had actually stretched myself that much that people noticed it.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Crazy, yeah.
A lot of people think that I'm 6'4" and like a quarter or something like that. I'm
Yeah.
well under 6'5". But when I meet people and I tell them I'm 6'4", they're like, "No, you're not. You're 6'6", or "You're this, you're that." They always think I'm taller than I am, and I believe it's just because I have a good posture.
No,
And
that
so
makes
many
a big
people these
difference.
days
Yeah.
have terrible posture.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, like, so many people these days, they're looking down at their phones. They're
Ah,
looking down so much, and their neck is getting destroyed. And if you're getting sore up here in your upper back and the
yeah.
base of your neck, that's just a strong indication that your posture is terrible. And there's easy ways to correct that. And I want everybody to do these things because it makes you feel good too. Not just not being out of pain, it feels good, but when you're standing up tall and proud, and you can look straight out at people, and you know that you have good posture, it just makes you feel good when you walk into a room, and you know that
Yeah.
it's kind of like you feel larger than in charge.
Motion effects emotion, baby. I'm with you, Craig. And man, I
That's
got to get this book, Ultimate Health, because obviously it has a lot in it, man. And so you go into all these things: body posture, nutrition, exercise. So this is like an ultimate health guide, right? So it's like a manual.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I think people listening right now, you need someone with experience who's gone through this.
That's
Someone who can
correct. Yeah.
simplify the process to get you the results in the fastest, easiest way possible. Someone who's read the research, watched the videos, sifted through all the conflicting opinions. I don't know if you've noticed, but
Yes.
you read one thing and then you read the complete opposite about something, and it's hard to
Yeah.
know who's telling the truth. And maybe they're both telling the truth, but they had different experiences or who knows what. But there's
Yeah.
definitely a lot of vested interests when it comes to drugs and surgery. And they go to their way to make natural medical solutions sound like they're quackery and ineffective. And that couldn't be further from the truth. In
Oh
fact,
my
that's
God.
the medical system up until like the 1940s was this way. It was based
Yeah.
on natural medicine. It was
That's
only
right.
when, drugs and chemicals got after the Second World War, hey, let's spray all the crops with pesticides and let's just poison everything. And while we're at it, why don't we make patented drugs out of petrochemicals?
Yes.
And when we fertilize the soil, we'll use fertilizer that only has 3 minerals, and we'll make that from petroleum also, and we'll ignore all the other minerals that everything needs to be healthy and flourish. Oh yeah, let's do all those things. Well, that's what they did.
And cook with Crisco. Use Crisco. We use it to to grease up the machinery, but you can also eat Crisco. Eat it. That's great.
Exactly. It's just it's terrible how the system has been set up for people to be sick. Unfortunately, when it comes to the medical industry, patients for life is a good business model for them.
Oh,
And
exactly.
if they can have you on 7 medications instead of 2, shareholders are happy about that. That's the unfortunate truth. Is it a conspiracy? I don't know. It's good business for them.
Good business
So
model.
I
Yeah,
try
you
not
want
to
to
judge
have people for life. You got to take this for the rest of your life. No problem. And now now they're finally coming out with, well, maybe statins aren't so good. It kills all your cholesterol, right? So, oh my goodness.
I
So
know, it's crazy.
I never took it. Listen, I want to send people to the Ultimate Health. And is that your website also, or what is your website? I'm going to have all the links on there
My
because
website is CraigBrockie.com, CraigBrockie, CraigBrockie.com.
Yeah, and I want them to go to
And
your
the book's
YouTube channel too. We didn't get a chance to talk about it. I want you to come back on. Let's talk about some business philosophy. You've been such a success in business. You've downplayed it, but I was checking all your stuff out, and you've been very successful in many different ventures. And man, you're just a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you very much, Cliff. I appreciate you having me on the show. And
Absolutely.
I can tell that you love helping people also.
Yes.
And anybody who's listening to this, just if it's not me, there's tons of other people. Dr. Mercola is really good. Dr. Eric Berg.
Yes.
You go on YouTube and search Dr. Eric Berg. He's solved almost every problem about health. There's so many good guys out there. Mark Sisson, like you were saying.
Yeah.
If I'm not your guy, there's a guy out there who can help you. And I just want you to take action and find a solution that works for you. I think my book is super easy to read. I've specifically avoided using complicated terminology and making it simple for people. So it sets you up. And the last chapter in the book is called Pay It Forward. I don't know if you've ever saw the movie Pay It Forward.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Years ago. Okay. The concept is about don't try to pay me back. Like if I help someone who's listening right now, I don't need money right now. I don't need you guys to help me. I want you to help other people.
Yes.
And take whatever you've learned and apply that to 3 friends, and let's really make a meaningful change on this planet. Because right now there's no lack of problems and there's no lack of solutions either. That's the problem, is people need to know that there's a solution for every problem. And if we actually know that and put that into practice and learn what the solutions are and then put them into practice and help each other, we can turn things around on this planet super fast. And that's what I want to see. Absolutely.
I'm with you, Craig. And so Craig Brockie, hey, would you hang around a little bit for the debrief? And I'm going to send people to you, man. Sure. But positively impacting other people. You're like me. You're great. I love you, brother. Hang around. Everybody else, subscribe to the show if you haven't already. You know what to do. Hit the button. And I will see you in the next episode. All right, brother.